Welcome to episode 15 of the Game Caddie tutorials. I'm Scott Moeller, and in this video I'm going to play a few holes of APBA Golf using Game Caddie version 5.0. The first thing that we need to do is to make our screen as visible as possible, so I'm going to click yes to these two prompts to enlarge the screen. And now you can see the About screen or the splash screen that you first get when you open the Game Caddie. If you want to get a copy of the Game Caddie, it's absolutely free. Just email me at smoeller9@gmail.com. I'm not going to cover everything in this video about Game Caddie 5.0. There's lots and lots in it, and a lot of it is new. But you can learn more about those things in future videos, or in the meantime, you can visit the Game Caddie webpage at thegamecaddy.com. You can access that by clicking this link, or if you don't have the Game Caddie yet, you can just type in the address that you see to the right. And of course, you know how to find the Game Caddie channel because that's where you are right now. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with the Game Caddie configurations menu. And to access that, you press Control, hold it down, and then the O key. And that pops up the game configuration settings. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these in detail. I do want to talk about a couple of them just so you have some idea of what you're looking at here. These controls here, these settings here, the options that you see, give you the opportunity to determine how the Game Caddie works in some cases, and also which homebrew rules you might wish to use. And an example of that would be the dogleg procedure here. So the way it's set right now, it's set for the original Master Game rules, and by original Master Game rules, I'm actually referring to the game that the APBA Game Company sells right now. It comes with the 2014 rule set, and so original means that particular set of rules. And in those rules, when you hit a ball through a dog leg, particularly if it's from the tee, then the ball is only affected by the dog leg if it goes through the inside of that dog leg. So if it's a dog leg to the left and the shot is also to the left, it would cross over the bend there and would affect the trajectory of that ball. And it would also affect any subsequent roll depending on the severity of that dog leg. Some people believe that a better way to do it is for the dog leg to affect any shot that passes through it, not just one that goes through the inside. And so you can now force the Game Caddie to treat dog legs in that manner by clicking on the Modified button. And as you can see in the pop-up box here now, the controls for the dog legs are such that any shot that passes through a dog leg is affected by that dog leg. You can also turn the dog legs off altogether if you don't like playing with that feature, but we'll go back and set it to original for the purposes of our demo here. The only other one I want to talk about in this intro is the wind controls. This is a new feature, and it will involve depending on which setting you have this on, it can involve another pop-up wind menu. If you want to turn off the wind altogether, just click on no wind, and now wind is no longer a factor, and you don't have to fool with it. Most of the time, though, you'll probably use the standard or modified settings, and I'll say a little bit more about that in just a second. If you prefer to handle all the wind by yourself, you can do that on the Conditions tab, just the way that you could in earlier versions of the Game Caddie. You click on Manual, and then you've got to do all the work yourself and enter in any wind effects on the Conditions tab down here. All right, and this is what I mean by the conditions tab. So you'd have to enter information into the anemometer for those wind effects to take place. But let's go back to this screen here. We're going to play a hole on Magnolia, and because Magnolia doesn't have a lot of course notes and ones that affect wind in particular, and there's no prevailing winds, there's no quartering winds, we can play much faster if we use the standard setting. And the Game Caddie will take care of almost all, if not all, of the wind for us. Now, if we play a more complicated course like Seaside down here that has lots of wind effects and it has prevailing winds, then we need to use this setting, and we'll come back and change it to modified after we get done with Magnolia. To apply the settings, just click on this button and you've got whatever the last configuration was that you had up here. If at any time you want to come back, just click Control-O and you can make any changes that you want. All right, but we want to go ahead and get started. I've gone ahead in advance of turning on the video of setting up 2 players, one on Caddy 2. And you can see I've got Ben Hogan here with all his ratings entered in and 3 clubs, optional clubs selected for him. And I've done the same thing for Justin Leonard. All right. There's no players in Caddy 1 or Caddy 3. And you'll note that you need to have the number in here. You can't just have that blank, or the Game Caddie will bark at you with a message telling you you've done something wrong. Okay. And if we come over here to the scorecard, you can see we've got Ben Hogan, Justin Leonard, and otherwise a clean scorecard. Now we got to go to the conditions tab, and we need to set up some conditions for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and roll, and I get a 3 for my 1 die roll. So I'm going to have pin number 3 be our pin number for the day. And notice I'm just clicking on this box here to change that number over there. For the day wind, Magnolia is an H rated course for wind, so I'll click on this and we get a 33 under H, means we're going to have moderate wind. So I'll click on day wind until moderate shows up, and now that's set. And for conditions, I'll roll, and this time I get an 8, and an 8 is normal, so we'll click on conditions until we get normal. And you'll notice that with normal conditions, the Game Caddie knows that to not add any additional roll or subtract any roll from rolls in the fairway or the green. So this is all handled for you. All you have to do is click on these 3 settings here. If you have a prevailing wind, then you would put that down here. And again, I'll show you that when we come to Seaside. But these 4 boxes here are for information purposes only and don't affect how the Game Caddie operates. All right, so we need to load a hole. So we'll come over here to Magnolia. You'll notice that there is no longer a reset button on here. If you've played previous versions of the Game Caddie, all you have to do now is to transfer the hole that you want to play. So we'll click on this button here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a 1 in because we're doing a demo. And that will load hole number 1 from Magnolia into the Game Caddie, and it will call up the golfer who's away. And for the first hole that you play, it's always in order of in numerical order. So if we had a player 1, player 1 would be up, but we don't. So player 2 is up, and then player 4 will follow. Okay. Now we can click Control Q from this Caddy tab or any Caddy tab, or I can just press the all-in-one menu, which both do the same thing. All right, so the default club that is selected is a driver. I could change that. You'll notice that the only clubs that are available are the ones that have been selected over here. We'll leave it at driver, we've got the standard wind setting. I'm just going to go ahead and roll the dice for Hogan. He's got a 13, which is a 4, which is his average W. We can see here. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and take that. You'll notice that there is no wind on this particular hole. The Game Caddie has already done the first wind roll for you, and you don't need to go over to the conditions tab anymore. It's automatically handled for you, and if there was any wind effect, it would show up right here. But it is using the dice roll from the conditions tab. It's not using this dice roll. So if I come over here, I can show you this. I don't want to slow up too much. But we've got moderate wind. The dice roll was a 32. If I move this box out of the way, you can see for moderate wind, a 32 means no second roll. So there's essentially no wind that we're playing with on this particular hole. But you don't have to come over here anymore and click these blue buttons unless you're in manual mode. When you're in standard mode, this will all be handled for you and things will go so much faster. All right, now we do want to take his average W, as I was about to say. So I'll put a 4 in here, because that's the PRN, play result number, and click average WI. And now what pops up is the option of reducing the left-right movement by 5 yards, increasing it by 5 yards, or changing my mind and say I don't want to actually take the average W, and I would just click this radio button here. The only reason for this box now is that in some rule enhancements that have come out since the 2014 rule book was issued, and these enhancements are not by APBA but by others. Some people like to have this option available to them to increase the left-right movement by 5 instead of reduce it by 5. But it always defaults to reduce by 5 yards, which is what we're going to choose. And then we're going to go ahead and take the shot. And the shot goes 265 right 10, as we can see up there. And 265 right 10 puts the ball in the fairway. And we get, with a fairway roll, we get 25 yards. So we'll type 25, which appears here in the adjusted roll box. And then we're going to click the update menu. And now the record location menu comes up and it's asking what's our lie. And again, some of these lies are new to version 5, but most of the time you're going to use the ones in the left-hand column here, and it defaults to a fairway lie, which is what we'll take. We'll go ahead and record that shot, and the notes are updated for us, and we now have 1 stroke that's been recorded. On this hole, APBA doesn't have any hole notes. Dr. Klein, Tom Klein, has his own set of hole notes that he uses and recommends. For the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to go ahead and ignore them, but he's offered these up with his permission. So they are included in the Game Caddie for Magnolia and some other courses. And whenever you see TC there, that means this is the note from Dr. Klein. Okay, so now we got to go to our next golfer. The fastest way to do that is to press Control Q, and it will take us to player 4. So Justin Leonard is up. He's also going to hit a driver. So we'll go ahead and take our roll. And he got a 62, and a 62 is a 7, which also happens to be his average W. 7, and you can see the 7 up here. And again, we'll click on that, and we'll go ahead and we'll just take to reduce the 5 yards. Take the shot, and his shot went 250 left 5, and that's in the fairway, and you got a fairway roll of 25. We'll put that in there and record the lie as a fairway. To take the second shot, we can see who's away here, And where the star appears is where the Game Caddie will go next in terms of the player. And in actuality, we wouldn't even need to change screens here because we're on Caddy 4. But I'm going to go ahead and press Control Q. That's just the habit that I'm in. And you do it consistently, and then you never even have to think about what the Who's Away tool says. All right, and now we've got a shot that is 180 yards away in terms of carry objective, and we're going for pin 3, which is on the left side of the green. That means since our ball's on the left side of the fairway, we're short-sighted. We aren't able to aim on this. It's a relatively narrow green, and Leonard has a B rating for working the ball. I'm going to go ahead and work the ball just to demonstrate how that goes. If I were playing this on my own, I probably wouldn't take that risk. But I will do that. And so I'm going to put a work the ball left of 5 in here. And then what I'm going to do in terms of selecting a club, he has an average eye of 6. We'll come down the 6 column. We want to go 180 altogether. So if the ball carries 175 and a 5-iron will roll 5 yards if I get a good shot on the green, and that will put us in pretty good position. So I'm going to select a 5-iron over here, and you'll notice that clubs that aren't available to me are grayed out, and that would include the approach boards because I'm too far away for that to work. And we'll go ahead and we'll roll the dice, and I got a 25 for the shot, and 25 in the I column is a 6. So I do have, again, the ability to take the average eye. Now that ball is an odd number, so it's going to go to the right. That's just something I know from having played the game a lot. And so an even number from the fairway with a 5-iron that's less than 10 is going to always go to the right. So I can take the average eye if I want to, but I'm actually not going to take it in this case. Now I purposely have not looked at this number over here for working the ball because I didn't want that to influence my decision here. But that roll has been made for us. So a 62 in the I column for working the ball is an 8. So I'll put an 8 in there and go ahead and take the shot, and let's see where that puts us. All right. So in reality, I should have taken the average eye because that would have put me right on the center line. But in this case, it's going to put me at 450 right 5. Still not a shabby shot, and that's going to be on the green. And we can see from over here that it's going to roll 5. That puts me 1, 2, 3 straight lines away from pin number 3. I'll put a 3 in there, click calc, and it's going to calculate 39 feet, and I need to click the ball on green tool to have the stroke accounted for. And there we go. We're sitting on the green with 2 strokes and at 39 feet away. I'm going to press Control Q again, and that's going to bring up Ben Hogan. And with Hogan, he's 165 yards away with his carry objective. He does have a good angle, so I'm going to aim left 5 yards. I'm not going to get greedy here because if I aimed right for the pin and I go too far left, I could end up in that trap. So I'm going to aim left 5, and his average eye is a 5. So we come down here, and a 7-iron will leave me probably 5 yards short. If I hit a 6-iron, he's going to go long. I can knock down that shot. We don't have any wind, but we can still do that. So what I'm going to do, there's no ideal, he doesn't really have an ideal club for this, but I want to demonstrate some things. So I'll click on 6-iron, I'll click on knock down the shot. That means that there's no wind, so it won't be reducing any wind effect, but it will cause the carry to be 5 yards less probably than what we see in this column over here. So I'll roll the dice, and I get a 15, and a 15 on Hogan's card in the I column is a 5. Again, his average eye number. So I'll click 5 there, and a 5 goes left, and that would put me 10 left, and I think I'm far enough to avoid that trap. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore the average eye. I'm going to, hopefully I've done the math right in my head here, and we'll go ahead and take the shot, and the ball goes 455, left 10. It's right on the pin, but we have 5 yards of green roll, and so it's going to go past the hole by 1 straight line. So we'll put a 1 in there, do the calc. That's 10 feet, record the shot with the ball on green, and now we've got both players on the green, and you can tell that again by looking up here and seeing that there's nobody there. So we'll go players to the putting boards, click on that, and we're just going to go ahead and putt out. Now Justin Leonard is not a fabulous putter, so at 39 feet I'm going to go ahead and play it safe. He gets a 24, which I'm glad I did, because that's going to be a 28 in the P column from 39 feet out. Even with that, he misses it by 6 feet. So we'll record a 6 in that box there. And Ben Hogan's far at 10 feet. We'll go ahead and have him putt. He'll go for it. And he gets a 41, which is a 19, and a 19 from 10 feet. Ooh, just misses. He needed an 18 or less to sink it from that. So he leaves it at 2 feet. We'll go back to Leonard, and hopefully he can put it in from 6. He's got a 16, and in the P column, that's a 25 from 6 feet. So he's going to end up leaving it a foot short. Wow, 3 putting after getting a green in regulation. And we'll go back to Hogan, and we'll putt for him. He's got a 56, and a 56 for him in the P column is a 24, and that's going to be in from 2 feet. And we'll putt Leonard out. I don't think he has the ability to miss it from a foot out. A 42 is a 23, and that's going to be in easily. Okay, so had a par and a bogey, and we're going to click transfer putts to the scorecard. And as you can see, the information is carried over from the notes, and the scorecard is set on auto score, so it fills in all this information for you. So Hogan had a 4, he had a fairway, a green, and a 2 putt. Leonard had a 5, fairway, green, but a 3 putt. And Leonard is 1 over, while Hogan is even. Okay, so that's how you play with Game Caddie version 5.0. Demonstrated some things like aiming, working the ball, knocking down shots, taking average WI. There's lots of things that you can do. Anything that's in the Master Game, you can do with the Game Caddie. Now, we use the standard wind setting for what we were doing here. Now we want to jump over to Seaside and use the modified wind setting so you can see how that works. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and reset the scorecard. I wouldn't have to do this. And I'm going to go ahead and clear all notes. That gets rid of what's down here. We're going to keep our same 2 players, come over to Seaside. I'm going to transfer, and again, I'll just stick with hole number 1 here. Now, before I do that, I got ahead of myself here. But before I transfer, I'm going to cancel that. Before I transfer anything, I want to come over here to the conditions tab. And you don't need to do this when you're playing. I mean, once you've set these things, they're set. You don't have to fool with them anymore. But if we wanted to reset the pin number, the day conditions, we could absolutely do that. All right, but we're just going to kind of leave it the way that it is. But I do need to make one change, and that is to change. We need to roll for the prevailing wind type. And with Seaside, the way it's written on the course notes is that if you roll a 1 through 5, it's a type A wind, and if you roll a 6, it's a type B. So let's roll, And oh, we got a 6 here. So it's going to be a type B. So I'll put a B in down here. All right. And again, that's just for informational purposes, but we need to know that information before we load the first hole. All right. So now what I'm going to do is call up this configuration menu. And the only thing I'm going to change here is change the standard to modified. Okay. Now the Game Caddie will show a menu that asks the user for a change in the wind rules. Several options are available. Okay. So that's just a little note there. And we'll click Apply Settings. Now, once we load the hole, we'll see that wind menu. Hole number 1 from Seaside. All right, here's the wind rolls menu. This pops up because of the change that I made on the game configurations settings. And we've got up here it says prevailing wind. If it's an A, it's a crosswind right. If it's a B, it's a crosswind left. Okay, so we have a crosswind left. We need to tell the Game Caddie that, all right? So any shot that's hit that has a wind effect will be converted, if necessary, to a crosswind left. And well, because of the way that the course notes read on Seaside, you ignore this, of course, when there's no wind, and you ignore it when you have swirling wind. So we're going to select swirling wind as the exception. If we had no exceptions, then we would select none. On hole number 1, we don't have any effects like doubling the wind. There are some holes on Seaside do have that. So if you did, you would click the double wind effect. Half wind effect is also available to you, but you do not need to use this for approach shots or anything that the caddy already knows about, right? So it knows to have the wind for approach shots that are between 50 and 75 yards out, and it also knows to double the wind for hybrids. So you don't need to tell the Game Caddie this is specifically for the hole notes. And you can make other wind adjustments here if necessary. What we're going to do, though, for right now is we're going to click the wind roll. So the wind roll is not done automatically for you just because you brought up this wind rolls menu. Okay, so we'll click this, and it's a 55. All right, so a 55, you don't need to look up anything, but a 55 over on the conditions tab, on the conditions tab with moderate wind, if we look at this, you can see that it's going to take a headwind, and what it's going to do is going to convert that to a crosswind left for you, and there's going to be a second roll involved. But you don't have to do it. I'm just showing you that to let you know what the Game Caddie is doing. All right, so we'll click Continue. And you can see that just what I said happened. I clicked Continue, and now we have a crosswind left for this hole. Now, in order to get started, we have to click on a Caddy tab, and then we can do the all-in-one menu or click on Control Q. But you can only use Control Q when you're on a Caddy tab. You'll get a little message if you try to use it from a different tab. All right, so I'll just click on the all-in-one menu button on Seaside. And if you look at the course, you've got a dog leg here that applies at 240 yards away. And it looks like trouble if you go to the left on that dog leg, which there's probably a good chance of doing since it's a dog leg right. So what we're going to do is use a club different than the driver. You'll notice over here that there's a crosswind left. I'm sorry, I've got my dog barking in the background because someone is making a delivery to my door. Hopefully I won't need to attend to that. But the reason you don't need to go to the conditions tab is that everything you need to know about the winds when using Game Caddie 5.0 it will tell you right here what the situation is. All right, so we got a crosswind left, and we only want to hit the ball a maximum probably of 235, 240 yards. He's got an average W of 4. Come down here. He's got a 4-wood available to him, which will take him 240 plus roll. That may be too far. So I'm going to just go with a 2-iron with Hogan off the tee. And there's actually some advantage of doing that, because with an iron off the tee on a par 4, if he gets a nasty number like a 54, we can convert that by, because of the way the Master Game rules are written, we can convert that to his average W. But we'll go ahead and roll here. And you got a 43, and a 43 is a 31. So he hammered this shot. 31 for his PRN. I'm going to take the shot. And notice that the all-in-one menu is going to do the second roll for you. It says second roll required. There's no lie roll because you're on the tee. All right, it's going to do. You don't have to do anything. Just click the take shot button, and the ball went 10 yards left because of wind. All right, and the shot actually went 5 yards left based on the 2-iron board result for a 31. So it's going to go a total of 15 yards left, and it's going to carry 235 yards. So 235 yards left 15 puts him in the fairway, but we're going to get 20 yards roll, and if we put a 20 in here, you can see that 20 changes that to a 255, and we're actually not going to get that far because we're going to be stopped by that sand trap. So I would put the ball at about 250, left 15. That looks to be the first square to me that's actually in the sand. So I'm going to come back here and change that to a 15, and that'll make that 250, left 15. And then when we update the shot, we're going to select fairway bunker as our line. So despite our best efforts to not hit the ball too far, we ran into trouble, somewhat compounded by the fact that he had an additional 10 yards left in wind. Okay, now we'll do Control Q for Leonard. And again, his win situation is going to be exactly the same as Hogan. This applies to all golfers on this hole. And he's not such a long hitter, but using the same logic that we used before, a 3-wood's still going to be too much. A 5-wood is probably the max, and we'll go again with a 2-iron off the tee and roll. And this time he got a 66, so for him, he also got all of it. And we'll put a 5 in here, and when we click take a shot, that second roll for the wind will be done for us. So in this case, though, there was no wind. So these crosswind left, second roll required, these are variable winds. They can change. You don't know what is going to happen until after the shot is taken. So in this case, Leonard's shot went 210 yards left 5, which is in the fairway, and he's going to roll an additional 20 yards, which is going to put him at 225. Whoops. At 230, I'm sorry, 230 left 5. All right, and click update, and he's in the fairway. All right, we'll do Control Q, and Leonard is still up. He's obviously far. And we kept pin number 3, but on the second shot we have a carry of -5. So I'll come over here and put that course adjustment in, and we want it to apply to both golfers because it's the second shot. It will be the second shot for both. So we'll click this little button here, and then that asks, do you want to apply it to all golfers? And we answer yes. All right, and then we have some special things if the ball happens to land on the red cross marks or yellow cross marks, and we'll deal with that if the situation arises. Okay, he's going to be short-sighted, so we're not going to be able to aim. This is, again, a pretty narrow green. Seaside has some of the smallest greens of all APBA courses. Okay, and we want to go 145 altogether, our carry objective, and he's got an eye of 6. So we'll come down here, and an 8-iron is a 145 carry with no roll, as I recall. So we're going to go ahead and select an 8-iron, except we probably want to knock this shot down because of the crosswind left, which could, take us 30 yards off course. So an 8-iron might leave us a little bit short and even short of the green. So I'm going to jump up here to a 7-iron, select a knockdown shot, roll the dice, and we'll see what we get. So we got a 62, which is an 8. We still might not get the green with that outcome. So an 8 in there. Let's see what happens with the crosswind. So the crosswind was 10 left. When you knock it down, you have the wind effect, so it's actually going to only take us 5 to the left, and because the shot went 5 to the right, it's going to actually put us right on the center line at 365. And 365 is right here, and it looks like we're on a red cross mark, and when you're on a red or hash mark, you get half roll and round down. So the roll is 5 yards from the fairway, and if we're rounding down, 2.5 rounded down is 0. And then resting on a red hash mark, you go back 10 yards. So we actually lose 10 yards of distance there. So our adjusted roll is going to be a -10. And we'll go ahead and update, and that puts us in the fairway, but at 355 on the fairway. All right. So now we've got Hogan to deal with, so we'll do Control Q, and he's going to be 130 out. Now we have the -5 yards because of the carry adjustment. The all-in-one menu does the lie roll for you, so the fairway bunker first roll was taken. We look over here, and there was no effect due to that. So we got a good roll on that. And again, if you want to check these things out for yourself, you can go over to the Lies tab, look up fairway bunker. Okay. And then look at what the dice roll is, and that dice roll is a 41. For the first roll, it has no effect. So that's what's going on behind the scenes. You don't need to manage it. The Game Caddie takes care of that for you. So we're going to go back here to Hogan's Caddy tab and figure out what club we want to use. A 130, and he's got a 5 in the I column. So a 9-iron knocked down will probably be a pretty good club for us to use, although we'll probably go right or left more than we want to, which is what usually happens when you're in a fairway bunker. But at least we're trying to control some of the wind effects. So roll the dice. Got a 55, and that's a 4. Put that in there, and we'll take the shot. And the shot went 375, right 5. Which means it went a little bit beyond, and it's actually sitting here on pin number 2, and there is no green roll, and we're not on any hashtags. So if we add up the number of straight lines and diagonals, we're 1 each away from pin number 3. Put that into the count tab, and you got the ball on green. And now we do Control Q one more time, because we've still got Leonard out here on the fairway. He's 15 yards to the pin, so we can just come over here to the approach tabs, click roll dice. A 42 in the A column for him is a 6, and put a 6 in there. Take shot. puts us 3 feet away from the pin, and now we need to record that by clicking on ball on green, and now we're ready to putt out with both players on the green. Hogan's 26 feet away. He only has really 4 chances of making a putt from that distance, but what the heck, let's go for it. And the roll's a 26, which is an 18 on his card. An 18 from 26 feet out is 4 feet away, so we'll record 4. He's still far. He'll putt again. 43 is a 27 from 4 feet. And if it's for a bogey, it's in. Otherwise, it's a tap in. So got greedy and paid the price for it. And you can adjust your tap in distance if you want. The default is down here at 0.5 feet, but you can set that to anything you want between 0 and 1. And then we'll putt out for Leonard. He had a 34, which on his card is a 26, and 26 from 3 feet is in. All right, and we can go ahead and transfer those putts to record everything. You can see the bogey for Hogan and the par for Leonard. All right, so that's an example of how to play with the modified wind settings and with the standard wind settings. You'll notice that the Game Caddie is doing almost everything for you. Just to remind you that, if there is an absolute effect from the wind or the wind effect doubles, things like that, that wind rolls menu is set up to handle those things. If you want to learn more about the wind rolls menu, I encourage you to go on over to the GameCaddie.com website and look for the post that is specific to Game Caddie 5.0 Wind Rolls menu. That's it for this video. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to get a copy of the Game Caddie for free, go ahead and email me. And in the future, I'll be putting together some other videos to show you some of the other features contained in Game Caddie version 5.0. Till next time, grip it and rip it.